Welcome to the RotoWire live start sit stream. I have two different shows going here. I have everybody on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter here, and I have Instagram here. So you'll see me look a little bit side to side. So I apologize for that in advance. We will get to your picks, your choices. I will help give you the best I can in terms of giving you rationale behind the players. I'll do it as quickly as possible to help you make your best decision. Ties in the house. Early bird gets the worm. Yes, yes. And screwball football is back. Brandon Ayuk as your flex. Should you swap him out for Gibson, Robinson, P. Ryan, Davis, or Smith-Schuster? So Ayuk is going to be one of those things where Pittsburgh is going to have a lot of heat they're going to bring on Brock Purdy here. I'm not excited about the cornerbacks. I know Joey Porter's in his first game as a rookie. We have that. We also have the other corner. We have Patrick Peterson. He's up there in age. I do think they can get Ayuk loose in this game. Personally, I'm seeing it as a big game for Deebo Samuel. But that said, about the players you have, Gibson and Robinson should both see a lot of work in a game that they probably control. Remember, Gibson and Robinson, they split carries in the preseason game. So that made me wonder about what that workload's going to be. So both of them are viable. P. Ryan against the Raiders, again, two tight end sets. They brought in two run blocking players on the offensive line. So I really think we're going to have an opportunity here for a running game. So I think that P. Ryan, these are all viable plays. Smith-Schuster's the one I like best. Philly was weak up the middle last year. They had a lot of turnover on their personnel up the middle this year. And I think with the RPO-based offense, he is going to see a lot of work. All of these plays are good. Ayuk is fine. I think Smith-Schuster has the highest floor of this group, and he has a comparable ceiling in this particular game. All right, I got a couple Instagram questions. Let me see if I can quickly bounce these. Wow, these are coming up fast. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, good. All right, let's see. Glad to see everybody here. McLaurin, Drake London. You know what? I'm going to say Drake London here. I'm still not convinced McLaurin is quite 100%. Because you have two great options. I think we go with the one that would be healthy, and they both could see similar work. But also Atlanta could run the ball a ton in the game. They could be leading here. And we have Kenny Pickett throwing a touchdown. Man, he didn't throw a lot of them last year, right? He's going to get a lot of pressure from the 49ers here. I would say there's a 60% chance he throws a touchdown in this game. B. Ollie, half PPR, you need two. P. Ryan, Gibson, Flowers, and Cooks. And so in this one, I think based on the configuration you have, I think the running backs would be your safest place here. P. Ryan and Gibson are your safest ones. I do think Brandon Cooks has a world we can get open for a big play against a Giants secondary. You got the 24th pick they picked up. That name just evades me, but their rookie corner. Cordell Flott's out. So I do think he can get a big play, but I think your safest options in week one are P. Ryan and Gibson in games where both teams should run the ball a lot. And then we have one more, flex PPR, Damian Pierce, Breece Hall, or Gabe Davis. Pierce is down 3 linemen, which isn't going to help, and the Ravens are at home. They probably play with the lead. Pierce got it done in bad game script last year, so there's a chance for that. I still think workload-wise, like Breece Hall, we don't know what we're getting, and Buffalo will be good enough against the run. So I'm a little bit nervous about Hall in his first game back. And then Gabe Davis, part of the time when he's on a particular side, you see some Sauce Gardner, and he could get sacrificed up to him if they play him on a side. I think your best play here for floor is Pierce. And I would probably say, again, until we see Breece Hall actually on the field, I don't know what his upside is, but we know he's splitting work, and Pierce probably is not. All right, let's see what else we got here on Instagram. Ayuk or Mostert. Mostert, I am anticipating getting 12 to 15 carries. The Chargers probably still are bad against the run. Maybe not as bad as last year, but probably still bad. So I think Mostert has a really good floor. He didn't have a bunch of ceiling games last year, but I think Ayuk is in that bucket where we never know for sure what his usage is going to be. And I think Mostert's floor is a little safer. I'm going to say Mostert 55%, Ayuk 45%. Jay Red's in the house. All right, let's see. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're anybody. If you're on YouTube, if you consider hitting like and subscribe button, I would certainly appreciate it. You can follow me at Jim Coventry NFL on Twitter. I have threads all over the place to help you with things as well. All right, Ravens or Eagles defense. So Eagles have a lot of turnover up the middle. Interior line, Jacoby Dean at linebacker. Reed Blankenship was a part-time starter last year, but not really great. And they have another new safety and a rookie in there. And I think New England's going to attack that. The Ravens, look, we know the chalk sometimes doesn't work. 3 missing linemen for Houston. I'm going to say Ravens on that one. And then Pearson start. If I start Ravens, I sit Pierce. Pierce could still get it done. Pierce could get 4 catches. Pierce could get a short touchdown. Pierce could get 60 total yards. But Mike Williams is a great play this week. He went 6 for $119 or $116 and a touchdown against the Dolphins last year. And I think he's going to be a heavy part of the game plan. So I do say Mike Williams goes there. All right, let's see if I have another Instagram question here. Thielen or Juju? Look, you know what? I'm very concerned about Thielen. He can't separate. The beat writers finally picked up on that later in camp. Early, they were all like flowery about him. And they're like, oh, he doesn't get away from people. The problem is that the rookie quarterback, Bryce Young, is going to see, oh, he's covered. At Alabama, dudes were open. Thielen doesn't get separation. I don't think he's getting a lot of targets. Juju is in a great spot. As I explained earlier, Philly's defense up the middle was weak last year. It's a lot of new faces. Juju's going to probably have a high floor in this game. All right. Chris Joel Snitz in the house. All right, my friend. Saw you at the Scott Fish Bowl Live. Selvin Ahmed or Quentin Johnson? Yeah, it's a good question, right? Because Quentin Johnson, we don't know what his role is right now. We're expecting him to be the number 4, which is not a good number to be in a 3-receiver set offense. And Selvin Ahmed certainly should get some work. We don't know what the workload is going to be for either. I do think they cannot overwork Mostert, but A-Chain is healthy. So that makes, Ahmed the number 3. And I think he could get work, but I think they're going to trail. And so I'm going to say, again, it's a tough choice. I'm going to say Quentin Johnson, because if they get him on the field, they could get him some run after the catch. I can't say Ahmed's safe in any particular way. Henry, morning to you as well. Need a flex. London, Akers, Deontay. Man, and you have a V in there. I think that's just a typo probably. All right, so, yeah, you need one of these. Deontay Johnson, to me, is in a great spot, and I'm not always one who's bullish on him. I do expect that Charvarius Ward sees a lot of George Pickens, and I think Amador Lenoir sees a lot of Deontay, and I think with the pass rush, the quicker passes are going to work here. I think Deontay Johnson's – and Freiermuth has to deal with Fred Warner. Not good. So I do have Deontay Johnson in one of my stronger plays of the week this week. James Cook, I love his situation. It's a really tough matchup against the Jets, who bring it against the run, and I'm not quite sure how this match is going to set up. Drake London is always going to be a good play, and they'll shorten the game with running, but he is their lead receiver. Akers, he's going to get volume. I don't know at what point they're going to bring another back in for receiving, because they're probably going to trail. They do play the Seahawks up, but it's a new version of the Rams. I'm going to say Deontay Johnson is floor and ceiling this week. Drake London is a close second. Let's see if I have any Instagram questions here. Madison or Jones? Which Jones? If you mean Aaron Jones, is Aaron Jones all day? If there's a different Jones, you could send in a new request. But Aaron Jones, great offensive line in Green Bay. The Bears transition on defense. I still don't think they'll be good against the run. And I think Jones comes up with a big game and a great matchup. Cam Chavarria started flex. Khalil Herbert, Mike Evans, Deontay Johnson. So as I said earlier, I just love the Deontay Johnson matchup against the 49ers. Khalil Herbert is also in an excellent spot. And certainly we don't know. Minnesota can't cover. Their corners are awful. But I don't know. Brian Flores might be blitzing a lot because to cover for the corners. And so Baker may not get the downfield stuff going. That's my concern. I'm going to say Deontay Johnson leads the group. Khalil Herbert should have a great matchup. The Packers have been bad against the run. Evans is right there with him. Honestly, if you can't go wrong on any of those, I think Deontay Johnson would be my preferred play. Eric Royo, let's see. Hey, all right, what do you got? Thank you. I appreciate you being here. All right, beat Alan Soslowski in home league. Yes, my friend Alan. PPR, need a flex, Dobbs or Gabe Davis. So apparently the coach said that Dobbs will maybe be limited today, and his matchup is great. Situation is great, but he has a hamstring. It could be aggravated. He hasn't been a full participant in practice. I think Gabe Davis, we're worried he'll see some of his snaps, maybe many on Sauce Gardner, and that's a real problem. But the injury to Dobbs has me nervous enough. So I'm going to say Gabe Davis, 55% to 45%. It's close because we don't know the status of his hamstring, and the matchup is very, very good for Dobbs. Morning, Alex. Oh, good. I saw you had sent me a question. I'm auto-responding. I can't answer them other than here. So good, Alex. I'm going to answer your question here. Smooth Criminal, JSN or Mims. So here's the thing. JSN is healthy and he's playing. I expect Seattle, and again, I know the Rams always play them close, but the Rams don't have anybody on defense besides Aaron Donald. So I expect the Seattle's going to run the ball, control the clock, lead. And I don't know how many 3 receiver sets they use this week. I think it's going to be a lot of 2 receiver sets, run the ball, just ice the game down. And Mims is going to have to be active. And I think that, DJ Chark is out and Adam Thielen is limited with whatever injury he has. So, I mean, obviously JSN's a better player, that, but I think Mims has the better chance of being involved, where I don't know how much involvement Smith and Jigba is going to have. But if you have a gut feel that Smith and Jigba is going to be a factor, he is very, very talented, clearly. So if you want to do so with the talent side, you go with that. I think Mims may have the better situation here, but there's a lot of downside. We don't know what his role is. So there is that. All right. But so for talent to be JSN. All right, Ken Kreitz. All right, my friend. Isaiah Likely or Hunter Henry? I got to go with Isaiah Likely here. I know Jalen Petry's at safety for Houston, and he was good, but he's kind of a boom-bust player. I think ultimately with the 3 receivers the Ravens have, Likely's going to have some room to run, and the offense is predicated, even with Todd Monken in, we know that Lamar Jackson likes the middle of the field. Hunter Henry is going to be a tough call because he's splitting with Mike Gesicki. Now, he could get red zone looks, but Henry's going to be more the blocker, whereas we're going to see Gesicki, obviously he can't block, so he's going to be more detached as a receiver. So I think Likely is going to see more targets, and that's why I lean to him. See if we have any more Instagram questions here. Herbert or Bijan Robinson? All right, we definitely are going Bijan here. You drafted Bijan to be your player, and this is nothing scary of a matchup. And you have to Herbert. Look, even last year when he was blowing away David Montgomery with in terms of production, it was not good. It was he was not getting enough touches. They were scaling him back way, way too much. So Bijan Robinson, I assume he's going to get a lot of volume here. Brandon Falls, worried of the Rams defense. Yeah, very worried. It's just good old Aaron Donald and not much else. Sideshow Mill, Cousins, or Dak. So, Minnesota could run the ball on Tampa Bay. There's that. But kind of the same thing works for Dallas. They could run the ball on the Giants. So in terms of scoring, Dallas has that great defense. They can make this a low-scoring game, and Dak may not have to be aggressive. Whereas even though the Bucs may not have a good offense, their defense may not be able to stop anybody. So I think Cousins has a better chance of being in the need to score more points. And so I'm going to lean Kirk Cousins 60-40 here. But again, it's close enough where you got a gut feel on that one. Go with your gut call. Jose's in the house, Pickens, Addison, or Jaden Reed. All right, so George Pickens, I do think he'll see a lot of Charvarius Ward, which isn't great, but Kenny Pickett did figure out down the stretch he would still throw it to Pickens. Pickens doesn't separate a lot, but he wins everything. So Pickett started to figure that out. So I think Pickens would be okay here. Addison, my worry is this. The one thing that Tampa still has on defense, they have 2 good outside corners. You got Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean. And I don't know if Addison's ready for them yet. And so either way, he's got a tough draw in week 1. And so that worries me that he's going to struggle to have the toolkit to beat them right now. So I'm going to probably lean Pickens here. Jaden Reed's a good, understandable choice. I think the Packers are going to run. And I don't know how much passing there is, but I think the talent of your other 2 options is enough where we don't necessarily put Reed into that discussion right now. Alex wants to know Likely or Freiermuth. So Pat Freiermuth probably has a lot of Fred Warner on him because the way the matchup shakes out, there are weeks where Fred Warner can't be assigned at a tight end because there's so many other duties he has. I think this week they can dedicate him frequently to the tight end. And unfortunately, I think that spells doom for Pat Freiermuth. I think Likely is going to see better opportunity, looser coverage. And again, Lamar has always liked the middle of the field. So I'm going to say Isaiah Likely. And I love most of the season. It's going to be a Pat Freiermuth thing. But Fred Warner, man, he is just like insane. So I got to go that route. See what else we got here on Instagram. Rashad White or Jamal Williams. So Jamal Williams, look, I mean, we knew he has the suspension for Kamara and Kendre Miller's not expected to play. But the thing is, you don't run on the Titans. He can get 20 carries for 42 yards. I bet his under prop on 50 yards because you just don't. And Tennessee's healthy. Rashad White I know the Vikings were really good against the run. Eric Kendricks is gone. Delvin Tomlinson's gone. Zadarius Smith, I know he's a pass rusher, but he can defend the run a bit too. So I think there's enough gone on that defense that we're going to say Rachaad White here. And Rachaad White's more likely to catch a few passes as well. Also on Instagram, full PPR flex, McLaurin or Dalvin Cook. Now, so in this case, Dalvin Cook, second half of the season, he really looked cooked, and his no pun intended. And his line now, he got good run blocking in Minnesota. I'm not confident of the run blocking in the Jets, and I do think the Bills can handle the run well. So I'm going to say in this one, McLaurin, even if they don't need him for 4 quarters, I think the coverage is just so bad. The pass rush is so bad. I'm going to go McLaurin. I'm going to go 60 to 40% there. And another Terry McLaurin question for and let's see, McLaurin or Mike Evans. So I said earlier, I think Brian Flores is going to call a lot of blitzes because he knows his corners can't hold up against Evans and Godwin. But I think the trade-off is the pressure is going to make Baker get it out quick. And so that's it. I don't know there's going to be deep plays for Mike Evans. Now, Baker's not afraid to throw it downfield, but I think because of McLaurin's matchup here, I'm going to, again, even if the toe, we're not sure what it is, I just think that Baker is going to want to get through and not lose his job. And so I think interceptions could doom that. I think he knows that. So I'm going to go with Terry McLaurin. I'm going to go 60 to 40% on that one as well. And Mace 1, Van Jefferson or Lockett. Problem with Van Jefferson is this. I assume Seattle understands Van Jefferson is the only real outside receiver they have. DeMarcus Robinson, fine, I get it. But Tariq Woolen, I imagine they're going to make sure Tariq Woolen is frequently on Jefferson. And in that case, Jefferson is going to be very outmanned. I think there's a lot of Tutu Atwell underneath, Tyler Higbee underneath, some screens to the running backs. I don't know how much traction Jefferson gets if he has Woolen on him because Woolen is just way more talented. So Tyler Lockett seems to always get it done. He may not need a lot of targets. I think Seattle runs a lot, but Lockett's going to be there. And that Rams defense does not scare me at all. Just it's Aaron Donald and nobody right now. Let's see what else we got here. Custom fantasy rankings. Mike Williams, Mike Evans. I think I just answered that one. No, maybe no. I think I know those players in a different one. So, no, I didn't answer that one. So Mike Williams for me. Mike Williams, I think 6 for maybe $116 and a touchdown against Miami last time. Vic Fangio comes in for the defense. It's going to take a while. They run a lot of that zone. They switch off players. Communication's not going to be there. No Jalen Ramsey. The corners don't scare me. To me, Mike Williams, and that one's 75 to 25%. And then another question on Instagram, Deion Jackson or Jalen Warren. You know what? Deion Jackson is going to get volume here. And the Jacksonville defense is not scary. And he could catch some passes too. It could be Deion Jackson. Jalen Warren, again, I think he might get 5 to 9 carries in a lot of weeks, but the 49ers are a tough draw for him. I don't necessarily like that matchup. And let me take one more on Instagram before I get back to YouTube, Twitter. And Connor Fitz asks, Zay Flowers or Khalil Herbert? Herbert has a great matchup. Green Bay struggles against the run. Even if Herbert gets 13 to 15 touches, he could do very well here. Zay Flowers, I think because Herbert is a little more established in the role, we don't exactly know where this offense is going. This offense is still new. And they could run the ball a lot too. Baltimore could get out to a lead and not need to throw. So I think Herbert is safer. I'm going to say 60 to 40 on that one too. Ray Rodriguez, Flex, Bateman, Jaden Reeder, Mingo. So Bateman's healthy, right? And that's important. And I want to point out to everybody, the cortisone shot he had in June or late May, that was because there was pain from the screw. It wasn't the injury. So he's healthy. And he was looking limited targets, but he was looking really good to start before he got hurt last year. And I think in this new offense, he's the alpha. So I think in this week he comes out and he does, especially with Mark Andrews out, I think he should get 7 targets or so. And if he gets that, it's a pretty good game. I'm going to take him over Reed and Mingo, and I'm going to say fairly comfortably. All right. And then we have John's in the house, John Rubright, quarterback, Watson or Fields. So you know what? I think Watson will overcome the speed of the game this year. I'm very optimistic about that. But I will say this, Justin Fields has that rushing floor. Green Bay, terrible against the run. I know their pass defense, but they're very passive. They do give up production when they shouldn't. The coaching, Joe Barry's a horrible DC. I'm going to just say, you know what, roll with Justin Fields right now. You have the rushing floor. Let's see what Watson has in a somewhat tough matchup. Let's see what level of speed of the game he has back. JK, thank you for being here. Non-PPR, James Cook, Damian Pierce, or Brian Robinson. So, yeah, as I said earlier, Pierce is down 3 linemen and a backup. They're really going to struggle with Baltimore, but he's going to get volume. There's that. Brian Robinson, I am concerned because in the preseason game, they split the early down work with Robinson and Antonio Gibson. Eric Bieniemy, he has to come out with a great offense to get his head coaching job in the future. And I don't think he's going to be, say, married to Brian Robinson, but Robinson is an easy matchup, and he could close this one out. So I do think there's merit for Robinson. He just doesn't really do much after contact. But and James Cook, again, I think for upside, he's your upside play. But the Jets defense does scare me. But if they get Cook out into space, so Cook is your boom bust guy, because I do think there's a world where he breaks up one or two big plays and he has it going. And then the other two, and it's funny, we had this trophy smack as sponsoring it, and I would say with Pierce and Brian Robinson, it's close. But if we go start Pierce and sit Robinson, let's see what the coin says. It says the sit side, so we'll go Brian Robinson, but that's a coin flip. So if you're doing a coin flip, there's your coin flip. But I will say that James Cook, boom bust, and the other ones, honestly, they both have similar floor and upside. Cody's in the house. Drake London, Cam Akers, or Juju for the flex. So I mentioned earlier, Juju's in a great spot here. The spine of the defense was a problem for the Eagles last year. Now it's revamped, and it's still going to be work in progress. So I think Juju has a great floor. I think Drake London has a higher ceiling, though. And I think that you could get a big play or two against this Carolina defense. A lot of run after the catch. He was a very trusted target for Desmond Ridder last year. Akers is always going to be a solid floor play for volume. But I think with these two receivers, so you go Juju if you want a safe 10 to 12 point floor. But if you want that range that might go like 8 to more like 16, 17, then I think you go for Drake London at that point. See if we have any Instagram questions here. Anthony Miraz, good to see you. Yep, good to see you here. And what else? Carr or Geno? So, all right, in theory, Geno would be the better play because he has an easy matchup, but I'm very concerned. The Seahawks play with the lead and they run because they can. It's Aaron Donald and nobody. Derek Carr, they're facing Tennessee. Tennessee will not let teams run on them, but they're very poor against the pass. Carr will have a lot of two tight end sets. They will be able to throw the ball out of that. I'm going to say Derek Carr is the play, unless if you think that Seahawks are coming in firing, that Geno's the no-brainer play. I think they're going to run a ton to control the game. So that's why I'm going with Carr. So if you think the philosophies differently, go otherwise. And then the news on Waller. So Ian Rappaport says he's likely to play. Adam Schefter, it was radio silence. So to me, we have no idea. So if you're in a shallow league where there's a lot of tight ends on the waiver wire, you could pick up Jake Ferguson. He's taken in a lot of leagues, but maybe in some league he's not. You could also go keep him on your roster for the game. Tyler Conklin plays Monday night, so if Waller's inactive, you can go that way. You could even go Daniel Bellinger, same team. So if Waller's out, Bellinger would get some looks. That might be the recommendation. Ray, full PPR. Bateman, I think I answered that one. I said Bateman on that one already, so we're good. Joe, Seattle or Denver D? So yeah, that's a good question. Seattle, I would have to go Seattle here because I think they're going to play with a lead, and if the Rams have to come out of their comfort zone, I think their defense can be better than we expect this year. I think bringing Bobby Wagner in to shore up the run defense helps. I think Uchenna Nwosu is actually like an emerging star. I think they're going to be able to put some pressure on Stafford and create some mistakes. I'm going to go with Seattle on their home field. Brian Pope's in the house. Yes, good to see you. All right, and then we have the next one here. PPR pick 2 for flex. Deontay Johnson, Javonte Williams, DeAndre Hopkins, Brandon Cooks. Deontay Johnson, I think, is a great matchup this week. I expect him to see a lot of Diamador Lenoir. I think with the 49ers pressure package, getting it out quick is going to be important. So Deontay Johnson is one of my favorite plays this week. Javonte, we don't know his workload, but the matchup couldn't be better against the Raiders. So I do think you strongly consider him. DeAndre Hopkins, it worries me because he's going to have Marshawn Lattimore probably on him nearly exclusively, I would think. And the problem is, Lattimore is great against big receivers. And I also question Ryan Tannehill so comfortable with that play action shot down the middle. Hopkins, like I say, is posted on the outside. I don't think this is a Hopkins game. Brandon Cooks, you're hoping for a big play because and he certainly can. I think he's the volatile one because he could come up with a strong opener. I just think Deontay Johnson is going to have a good floor ceiling, and I think Javonte Williams has a good floor. So if you want the ceiling play instead of the Javonte Williams, then I think if you want to take a little risk and you want to roll the dice for the bigger upside, I think Cooks could have that, but I think he could also be quiet in this game as well. So that'll be the way I go. And D-Hop, like I said, we love him. I think I'm worried about the matchup. And then John, you asked the Seattle or the Jets. I'm still going to say Seattle because the Jets, great defense there. They're playing the Bills. And I imagine that Josh Allen finds a way to get things going here. Zay Sports Cards, Keenan Allen or T. Higgins. Oh, man. Yeah, you got a tough one there. So overall, the Miami corners are not Miami. Baltimore corners are very good. Baltimore corners are very good. I'm sorry, wrong team. Cleveland corners. Cleveland corners are very good, but they're not big. And Martin Emerson is, but he's the lesser of the three. Higgins is probably going to be able to win against them. And when the pass rush comes, Joe Burrow is still sitting in shotgun, so he has time to read. And Keenan Allen, when he's on the field, he gets a ton of targets. So this is what makes it tough here, right? But I think with the new offense, he's still going to see his. I just don't think he's going to get over-targeted like he did in the past. I think it's more spread out. So this is a coin flip. So you understand, because Keenan Allen always could catch 10 passes, and he could win on volume. I'm going to go with T. Higgins here because I think ultimately Cleveland's had his number a bit, but I think they're going to make some changes to their base from last year, and running that shotgun helps. So I'm going to say T. Higgins 51 to 49%. It's that close. Is a great question. Tom out of hibernation. Let's go. All right. Yep. I'm with you on that. I see what else here. Swole P. Mo, Likely or Ingram. Although I like Likely this week, Evan Ingram, he runs horizontal routes to outrun linebackers. I don't see that changing here, and I don't think we drafted Ingram knowing that his role in the offense is pretty solid. So I'm going to say Evan Ingram, and I know there's 3 viable targets in that offense now with Christian Kirk and with Calvin Ridley. I'm just going to go with Ingram because I know they found how to use him last year, and this defense is not the Colts defense. They stop the run, but they don't stop the pass. I'm going to say that. And then Swole P. Mo, Van Jefferson or Breece Hall. I think Van Jefferson sees a lot of Tariq Woolen. I'm going to go with Breece Hall because if Woolen is on Jefferson could have a really long day. GT Pop, Kupp and Gibbs, A.J. Brown, Akers, and Kamara. So, yeah, Kupp on IR. And then you have, let's see. Oh, Gibbs already went. So, Gibbs played already. Jahmyr Gibbs played. And A.J. Brown, Akers, and Kamara. Kamara suspended, so we know he's not in. A.J. Brown's awesome. He should. I don't see the world where the Patriots can really do much to him. They put the rookie Christian Gonzalez on him. Good luck. Even if they double him, they're small corners. Otherwise, they'll use him on crossing routes. Akers has a decent floor, but I think A.J. Brown should be fine right here. Randy, good to see you, man. 2 leagues. Need a tight end in place of Kelsey and maybe Waller. Dulcich or Likely. Oh, man. Well, if you got to drop one, then you use Dulcich because Likely's probably a 1-week rental, whereas Dulcich is somebody you're keeping for a while. So, yeah, I don't know that the fall off is much at all because Dulcich may be heavily involved here against the Raiders. So we'll look at that. We're getting close at 11:30 time. If anybody notices any surprise inactives, obviously when I'm working with you, I can't look at the inactive reports. So if anything surprising comes, let me know. And then Gabs has Taysom Hill, Likely, or Ferguson. So I am in on Ferguson this year. Dak Prescott loves throwing to his tight ends. I know that. I know against the Giants, the linebacking core is revamped, but bad. So I think we definitely look that way as well. So definitely I like him. But Isaiah Likely should have a floor here because of the propensity to throw in the middle of the field. Taysom Hill, I never know what his role is going to be week to week. So for me to lay out a case, I don't think I can. So I'm going to say Ferguson is my preferred play. But I think there could be a level of risk because he hasn't been out there on a common basis yet. And so if you felt safer with Likely, I get it. But I am going to lean Ferguson 55 to 45%. And then Jim Coop's in the house, Van Jefferson, Mims, Gallup, or Roshan Johnson. I am going to say Gallup will play in the 3 receiver sets here. I think they do want to get him going. The word is that he had a good camp and they're excited. I said earlier, Jefferson, I don't like his corner matchup. Mims, again, he could be very heavily used here, but I don't know what to expect from the rookie quarterback, Bryce Young. I don't know how Atlanta's going to approach. So I think Gallup is just kind of wait. Roshan may not get many snaps. with Waller, Dinks. You start Gerald, Everett, or pick up Likely. So what I would do is this. Waller, I guess Ian Rappaport says that Waller's likely to play. So I would either pick up, he might be gone already, but if Jake Ferguson, the same game is there, great. Daniel Bellinger, you could switch him for Waller. Or you can go Monday night, Tyler Conklin. I could, because if Waller plays, you want him in there. If we find out he's ruled out somehow early, then I think Gerald Everett against Miami is a strong play, but he's boom bust. So if you want a stable 8 or so PPR points, then Isaiah Likely to be your guy. Ryan, you have Gibson or Kirk, full PPR. Yeah, it's a tough one because I think both running backs are heavily involved against Arizona. It should be a pretty easy game. Christian Kirk, with the Calvin Ridley dynamic, we don't know what his targets look like, but he's the clear number 2 out of the slot. There's merit for both of these. I think that as we look at it, though, Indy can't stop the pass at all. Arizona can't stop the run. But I think Kirk's role is a little more stable. I'm going to say Kirk is 52 to 48%. It's very close. I'm going to say Christian Kirk I'm going to go with there. And let's see. Defense for the year, Jacksonville or New England. New England, they're great when they play teams that have backup quarterbacks. They have a good defense, but it's like when they play good teams, they're not good. But Jacksonville, they really don't. Tyson Campbell's decent at corner. They're boom bust with some like Josh Allen. I think New England probably sustained over time is probably the better play. Max, all right. Good to see you in the house here. What do you got here? Appreciate that. Won your 12-team league. Nice. All right. You have Chase and St. Brown in 2 spots for flex. Waddle or Ridley? You know what? I'm going to say Ridley here. Waddle played the Chargers last year. They jammed him at the line. He had like 2 catches for 31 yards. He couldn't get free. The timing was all disrupted. I think they do it again. Ridley, the corners from last year for Indy, they couldn't cover. They're gone. Patrick Peterson's gone. Oh, no, Stephon Gilmore. I'm sorry. Stephon Gilmore, he's in Dallas now. Isaiah Rodgers suspended, and then for the year, and now he's with Philly, but not playing. They can't cover. And those out routes and those in routes, those are going to be like pitch and catch all day. I'm going to go with Ridley there. Chris, A-Chain is expected to be out. So no, that's great intel there. So Salvon Ahmed now, I think we could pretty safely say Salvon Ahmed is getting 8 to 10 carries in this game. And the Chargers have not stopped the run. Now, Teron Armstead, the left tackle, is out. That really hurts Miami's run game. So I'm going to say this for Salvon Ahmed. I'm going to give him 10 carries for 47 yards and 1 catch for 6 yards. So kind of factor that in to your plan there. And I kind of went over the backup plan for Waller, Miles Sanders, or Jamal Williams. I am going with Miles Sanders here. I expect the volume. Atlanta did add pieces. I think this is going to be a transition on their defense until they get better. Jamal Williams facing Tennessee. Yeah, he'll get volume, but man, nobody runs on the Titans. I could see Williams getting 20 carries for 42 yards. I bet him under 50. You just can't run on the Titans. Miles Sanders at least has a better matchup. And then another Instagram question, James Cook, Rashad White, or Kirk need 2. So the Vikings have lost some of that run defense they had. Delvin Tomlinson's gone. Eric Hendricks is gone. And Zadarius Smith, who also is a pass rusher, but he could stop the run. But Christian Kirk, you have Christian Kirk in your mix too. So you need 2. And James Cook has potentially a bad matchup. White will be so first Kirk's in. Kirk is in, I'd say. And then White is going to get volume. He'll get some volume here. So I think he's a southpaw. He's going to mix in a little bit here. It's not going to be all him. But I think James Cook in that bad matchup, he's the boom bust. If he hits the big play, he wins. If he doesn't, so I would say Kirk. And if you want safe White, if you're willing to risk some possible floor for some upside, then I would go with Cook. If I'm starting him, I'm going to go with James Cook here. Johnny Football, thank you. Good to see you. Cole Kmet or Isaiah Likely? Packer secondary plays so passive, and they're going to have to deal with the speed of DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney. And Cole Kmet, when he's been in the middle of the field, he's had very good chemistry. Likely is obviously a good target, but there's other receivers to deal with. They're all 3 of them are ready to go. I'm going to say Cole Kmet 60 to 40% on this one. And another Instagram question here. Let's see what we got here. Kittle or stream Juwan Johnson. All right. Kittle, I told people on the XM show this morning, he's playing. I got to start him. He could block. He could get 1 catch for 6 yards, but he could score 2 touchdowns. And I know Pittsburgh's not an easy matchup. They got Minka Fitzpatrick at safety. Both of their edge guys, TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, they can cover. But yet, if Kittle's healthy, and I do like Juwan Johnson. I think Juwan Johnson has a really good game here. So, I mean, you could do that, but you're going to kick yourself if Kittle ends up being fine and going 6 for 80 and a touchdown or two. And I just think that there's risk with Kittle. When you drafted him, you knew that. And so I think you're going to lean into that and go in. But if you want another option, I think Juwan Johnson over likely. ICY Legacy, Deontay or Jahan Dotson, full PPR. I'm going to like a lot of Jahan Dotson this year. He wins contested catches very easily. I don't know how much Washington have to throw here. Deontay, as I said earlier, has a great matchup, I believe. I believe you'll see a lot of Diamador and Lenoir. I believe with the pressure, he's in a lot of quick passes. That's Deontay Johnson. I think this is a good game for him. Brian Pope, James Cook, DeAndre Swift, or Pirine. I'm going to say James Cook here. Pirine, I know he has a role, and I know it's the Raiders, and I think he has a decent floor. DeAndre Swift, I have no idea what his role is going to be. I think they really are going to want to preserve him and Rashad Penny for the postseason. They're going to limit their snaps a lot. But James Cook, tough matchup, but I do think he has that upside ability. I would say this, Pirine is a higher floor. Pirine with 6 to 8 points, I think you're pretty safe with that. He might get a little more. Cook, he could get stuffed and not do much, but I think he could get you 12 to 14 points. I'm going to lean Cook, but if you need real safe, just make sure you're banking points. Might be Pirine. Said Powell, top quarterback today. I'll check my rankings for you, and I can tell you that. And go to quarterback. I'll tell you what I have. Of course, what's come up for me, I'll be dangerous. All right. I do have Jalen Hurts as my number one, although Bill Belichick tries to stop quarterbacks from running, but there's just too many weapons there. Lamar Jackson's my number 2. And then Josh Allen, despite playing the Jets, is my number 3. Those are my top ones on the board. Maybe StreamYard backwards so I could see everybody and see my questions. Weird. Oh, there I have it underneath here. Okay, good. All right. Pick 2 for 12-man flex. Deontay, Javonte. I answered that one already. Ramon. James Conner, Dalvin Cook, or Najee Harris. So I do look, Conner plays like 90% of the snaps. I know it's a bad matchup, but I think Washington's going to sleepwalk in this game. And because they realize Cardinals have nobody, I think Conner catches 4 or 5 passes. The Conner to me is a strong play. Now, Najee Harris is a bad matchup. And I know your standard, but those catches equal yards. Najee Harris has a better chance to score, though. And he had a plate in his foot for 9 weeks last year, and I know it's not a great matchup, but I think with the receivers they have, defenses can't oversell the run. I'm going to say Najee Harris slightly over James Conner, and Dalvin Cook, too much split work. Jed, good morning to you. How do you feel about starting Waller? Ian Rappaport, fine reporter, Schefter was silent on the injury. And when Schefter's silent, I always defer to Schefter. To me, Schefter, like he says it is. So right now, Rappaport thinks Waller's playing. So you start him if he's active. If not, I don't know how competitive the league is. Some leagues, Jake Ferguson's available, same game, Dallas. Daniel Bellinger of the Giants would be the direct switch. Monday night, Tyler Conklin. Those are players you could switch it if you need to. All right, let's see if I have another Instagram question here. What's everyone think? Okay, Breece Hall or Swift, you're asking here. Oh, man. I'm going to say Breece Hall. Because, again, Swift, I really don't know what his workload's going to be and his opportunity share, but Breece Hall should get close to half the work. And so I would go with Breece Hall in that situation. Higgins or Godwin. I think Godwin gets a lot of targets here. I think that Brian Flores is going to have Minnesota try to pressure quite a bit. And I think the thing is going to be get the ball out. So I think as much as I love T. Higgins, and I mentioned earlier, Cleveland's given him trouble. I think he ends up okay, but I think Godwin ends up more than okay here. So, but again, it's T. Higgins. Very, very hard to sit T. Higgins. I'm going to say Godwin 51 to 49%. So if you've got a coin flip, go with that. Julian and Ken Kreitz, you're welcome, man. Zay Flowers or Damian Pierce. Pierce is going to get volume, and he's going to get some dump offs. He's missing 3 linemen. That's not optimal. The yardage may not be high. Zay Flowers, though, Baltimore gets a lead. They may not need to throw much, and they might lean on their running game. So both plays make sense. I'm going to say Damian Pierce because I think he's relevant for 4 quarters, be it as a runner or a receiver. And I think ultimately volume, he gets it done there. That's probably a 60 to 40% because I think either way, he's not going to be game scripted out. Next one, McLaurin. I think I answered that one already. I went with McLaurin on that one, but Evans, I can understand why you might think that way if I answered that. Evan Ingram or Cole Kmet. Now, John, I got to go with Ingram here just because of the way they learn to use him in the second half of the season. They get him horizontal, outrunning linebackers, and Kmet could score a touchdown. He definitely can. I just think that the inconsistency is going to be more for Kmet than it is for Ingram. And the matchup is, to me, is very good the way they use Ingram. They do have some linebackers who can cover in Indy, but I think the way they use Ingram, they use him very specifically. So I think we're in good shape there. Back to Instagram, Jackson Craig asks McLaurin or Dalvin Cook. Again, Cook really looked washed at the end of last season. He really declined as the season went on. The blocking won't be as good as he had in Minnesota. The run blocking was good. And McLaurin, I know the toe, but they took him off the injury report, and it's Arizona. Even if he's not 100%, I think he could even on a few targets, he could end up fine. And then Sasdy, sorry if I said that wrong, trust Waller to play likely or trust Waller. If that's I would rather drop likely and pick up, again, depending how deep your league is, if Jake Ferguson, maybe not available, if he is great, Tyler Conklin for the Monday night game, Daniel Bellinger, Waller's replacement. I think I would rather take a shot on Waller and then have that other player there to pivot so you can wait till the last minute. But if you can't wait, you have to go with likely because you can't risk a zero. I know Rappaport said he's playing, but there was no word from Adam Schefter, and Schefter's kind of where I go. All right. Dave Daggs, James Cook, Rachaad White, or Kirk. I think I may have answered somebody's similar question before. Kirk to me is in, and then I think I said Cook for the boom bust. Rachaad White's going to have probably a better floor because of volume. Timothy Johnson, you need 1.5 PPR. Rachaad White, Pittman, or Pitts. Oh, man, Pittman's a great player. Anthony Richardson scares me. And if Tyson Campbell, the one good corner that Jacksonville has, is on him, there's not going to be a window for Richardson to throw. Rachaad White has the floor of the three because he's going to get some volume here as a runner receiver. I know he'll share some work. Kyle Pitts, we don't know how they'll use him. It was too many downfield routes, low percentage. They didn't get him short and intermediate to pad his stats. I'm going to say this. You want your floor play. You want your safe 8-9 points. You're going to go with Rachaad White. If you want to take some risk and hope that you swing a 15 out of it, then Pitts has downside, but he could get you there if they use him better. So that's the way I'm going to frame that one. Big Money Joe, 12-man, 1-point PPR. Need 2 RBs and a flex. You need 3 of these. Pollard in. Deontay Johnson, I explained earlier the matchup. I think Diamador Lenoir, a lot of quick. Those 2 are going to be in. Now you just need another running back. So those running backs are between Javonte, James Cook, and Dalvin Cook. You heard me talk about Dalvin Cook. The line's worse than what he had in Minnesota. I think he's getting near washed. So Javonte, we don't know his workload. He's supposed to be limited. But I think him and James Cook have equal floors now because of that. But I think James Cook has more upside. So I'm going to go Pollard, James Cook, and Deontay. And let's see what else I have here. I answered that one. Papi Gama, more than you as well. It's our 2 of 4. Herbert, Jamal Williams, Brees, or James Cook. So Herbert has a great matchup. I'm going to roll with him. Jamal Williams is going to really struggle to find any room against Tennessee. So I'm going to sit him. And now the last 2, Brees Hall or James Cook. Here's your point. Brees Hall is going to get work. He's going to get some yardage. I don't know his explosives, but he has the better floor over James Cook. But James Cook is going to be more boom or bust. So if you want to swing for a 15-point game, you go with Cook. If you're happy with 10, Brees Hall. I don't know that Brees Hall, now maybe he's surprising the explosiveness is back, but the way the coaches are talking it up, it sounds like he's still working back. So that's the way I'm looking at that. The Mad Rapper asked me Freiermuth or Schultz. Everybody knows I'm off and down on Schultz, but not this week. Freiermuth probably gets a lot of Fred Warner on him, and that's a terrible mismatch against Freiermuth. So I'm going to say Dalton Schultz. There probably, as the game gets late, especially if the Ravens are leading, there might just be a lot of easy pitch and catch there. And all right, so let's see what we got next. I answered that one. Try to just ask these once. I'll get to everybody. Austin, should you drop DeAndre Hopkins at your flex and pick up Godwin or Tyler Lockett? I do think Godwin gets a lot of targets here. Minnesota can't cover. They have nothing. And I think they're going to blitz, and I think that means quick passes. To me, that's Chris Godwin. And remember, Jarvis Landry averaged 997 yards with Baker Mayfield in the 3 years before Mayfield tore his shoulder up 2021. So Godwin is like a perfect fit. Lockett's always a great play, but I think Godwin is a very fine play in this matchup. Austin. I would still go with. I'm worried about Hopkins because I think Marshawn Lattimore is going to be on him, and he does very well against big receivers. And I think that not Derek Carr. I think that Ryan Tannehill, we're doing a lot of play action slant stuff, and I think to me it's more of a Treylon Burks game and a Chiggy Okonkwo game. I just think Hopkins is not going to get much room against Lattimore specifically. He's good against big corners. Bankson, James Cook, or DJ Moore. I know DJ Moore is a tough matchup. I know Jair Alexander's there. You know what, though? I mean, they play a lot of passive zone, and DJ Moore can run after. Last year, he didn't run after the catch because the passes were all behind him over his head, but he's a phenomenal run after the catch guy. I'm going to go with DJ Moore here. I just think that DJ Moore has a great floor. He's going to get targets, and I think there's ceiling. James Cook, I don't think has the floor or the ceiling, and that's the way I'm going to go there. Fletcher Cox. Should you start Jamal Williams? I love that name. Over Debo. No, I would not. I said earlier, the Titans, nobody runs on them. I could see Williams at 20 carries for 42 yards. Debo, to me, he's the perfect matchup for what the Steelers do. You want to get it out quick underneath. I think it's going to be a lot of drag routes. I think this is a Debo game. He matches up perfectly in taking away Pittsburgh's like quick pressure. I think that's going to be the one. Alex. Oh, good. And you have Warner's a beast. You're on it. This guy's like spamming the questions. All right, there we go. Dude. All right, here we go. You asked me a question like 7 times. All right, classic. Choose one running back, 12-man league, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, or James Cook. I think Akers gets a lot of work here. I think he's your floor play. I think he's going to get you 15 touches here, so you like him as a floor play. I think that James Cook could break a longer one against the Jets, who are a good defense, but I think he's much riskier. I think I would just take the floor with Akers because Akers could score a touchdown, too, if they get in the red zone. So I'm going to say Cam Akers. DeAndre Swift, I just don't know what his workload is. I mean, right now, 3 running backs, and they really are talking about Gainwell maybe getting more work than the others, and it just really is messy right now. And week 1, let's avoid messy if we can, right? Craft Keepers, McLaurin, Van Jefferson, Jamal Williams, Deion Jackson. So Deion Jackson should get you double-digit touches here. Jacksonville's not scary on the ground. He can catch some dump-offs, and I know Evan Hull will mix in. McLaurin, we don't know what the toe is, but he's kind of off the injury report in Arizona is no issue at all. I'm going to say McLaurin here. Van Jefferson, I think he sees a lot of Tariq Woolen. That's a mismatch. You heard me say a few times Jamal Williams. It's a bad matchup for him. So I just don't think that against Tariq Woolen he gets it done. All right, let's see what else we got on Instagram. Dak or Geno. I think I said it earlier. Maybe I answered somebody else's question, though, Griff. So, no, I didn't. No, I think that was a similar question. The whole thing with Geno is we see the upside because the Rams stink on defense, but I think they're going to get run on all day. And I think Pete Carroll's going to be good with running it and controlling it. So, but Geno, that makes him a boom bust play because if they decide to throw it, yeah, he'll go off. I don't think they will. So that's going to be your boom bust. I think Dak is steadier. I think Dak is going to get a good amount of pass attempts, very beatable defense. I don't think they ever want to overwork Tony Pollard. So I think Dak is safer with moderate upside. I think Geno is just much more boom bust because they can run on them and not think twice. And Pete Carroll loves his running game. Ricardo Hernandez, Treylon Burks, or Elijah. Oh, that's a good one, Elijah, man. So Elijah Moore or Treylon Burks. Elijah Moore is expected to be used all over the formation this year. Sub 4.4 speed, 90th percentile agility. He is going to be a weapon. Now, Cincinnati's a good defense. Treylon Burks. So New Orleans, they've got Marshawn Lattimore. I expect him to be on Hopkins a lot. I expect to see a lot of Burks in the slot running those slants on the play action. And that's really what Ryan Tannehill does best. Both of these guys are very good plays, I think, this week. I'm going to say, and this is close, 52% Treylon Burks, 48% Elijah Moore. Either could win this one. It's hard to project who gets more usage. I just think Burks may do more with his opportunity because I think he specifically works against those secondary corners of the Saints. And you are very welcome. And Javonte Williams or D Hop. Well, you heard me say about D Hop against Marshawn Lattimore that I don't like that. Javonte, I really don't know what his workload is going to be. So I think ultimately between those two, I think Hopkins is safer of the two. Again, we got to see Williams playing a game. Since you have a good option, we could really see what he looks like, and I think that might help. Next question for Bo Sox dude 3, Lawrence or Fields. Oh, that's a good problem to have. So here's the thing. Trevor Lawrence, they're facing the Colts. They couldn't stop the pass last year. And the thing is, their 2 corners from last year are gone. Stephon Gilmore's with Dallas. Isaiah Rodgers got suspended for a year. Now he's on Philly's roster. And you can't run easily on the Colts. So I think it's a pass first game script. So Lawrence is safe. He's safe. I don't know what his ceiling is. If they get a lead, they could sit on it a little bit. Fields has that enormous rushing upside, and Green Bay can't stop the run. So I think if you want to know you're getting 20 fantasy points and call it a day, it's Lawrence. If you want to talk 14 to 30, now that range is Fields. So if you're like a favorite in your game, it's like Lawrence is the layup. But if you're an underdog, then Fields is kind of your way to go. All right. Oh, this guy, how do you get him to answer a question? You stay on the stream a few minutes. I think you asked me a question 7 times in 15 minutes. I'm laughing. This is funny. Jared, Hopkins, Jamal Williams, or Christian Kirk at the flex. I like Christian Kirk here. Again, I said the real struggles in coverage for the Colts. Jamal Williams, a very bad matchup against Tennessee. He'll get work, but I just don't know that it turns into anything. And D-Hop, like we said, it's a rough matchup. All right, and Cody, you're welcome. And Penguin, Higbee or Njoku. So although I love Njoku's matchup, I think it's, he's very dynamic in the middle of the field. I think with Cooper Kupp out, I think Tyler Higbee has a good chance to catch 8 passes. I don't know what the yardage is, but I just think the safety of Higbee, and if they should get in the red zone, he could score. I love Njoku. I love him every week. But I think this week, Higbee is kind of that play where, wow, he's safe. And he might have some upside. So that's what I'd say. Swift, Wes Swift, I just don't know what his workload is. I have no reliable source on this one. He could get 4 touches. He could get 9 touches. And we know he could take one to the house anytime. So if you have a player with a stable role, you can get bank save points. But Swift could be anywhere from 3 to 15 fantasy points. And we don't have enough to say we know this is what's happening. So I wish I had a better answer. That one's tough. Luis, flex spot, McLaurin or Breece Hall? I'm going to say McLaurin here. Again, I don't know what the toe injury status is, but I know that Arizona can't cover and they can't rush the passer. Breece Hall, just a lot of uncertainty, and Buffalo could be a tougher matchup. And Julian, Zay Flowers or Damian Pierce? I'm going to say Damian Pierce. I think his workload is safer. If the Ravens get a lead, I don't know what Zay Flowers is going to see. Ty, favorite advice on Sundays and you show up late, we'll have to make up for it. Thanks, man. Appreciate you, man. Richardson or Geno Smith? You heard me talk about Geno Smith earlier. He could have a great game. The Rams are terrible on defense, but it also could be a game where they run the ball and they have nothing to worry about. Richardson has a floor. Richardson probably runs for 60 yards. He should get a little bit through the air. I think Geno's safer this week, though. I still think even if they run a lot, I think Geno gets enough done against a bad Rams defense. And Richardson, when they lost Taylor, that really hurt because that was an added element that defense had to worry about. And I'm really concerned about him as a passer, especially in this first game. There's going to be some nerves, I think. I'm going to go with Geno here. Cam Akers or James Cook? Akers is safer. He's going to probably get you 15 touches, maybe a little bit more. Matchup, not what we'd like, but Bobby Wagner is now over in Seattle. It's a bad run defense, but he really shores that up a lot. But I think Akers can get it done here, and I think they're going to commit to run. The line's healthy. I'm going to say Akers is safer. And you know what? I think they might have similar upside because Akers can get in the end zone. I'm going to go with Akers, 53% to 47, very close. Nate Jump, good to see you, man. P. Ryan or Mostert? I'm going to say Mostert here. So apparently somebody posted on the board that A-Chain's out. That's big. And we already know Jeff Wilson's out. Mostert gets 15 touches against a bad run defense here. So P. Ryan is in a good spot as well. But I think Mostert has a better chance for explosive plays. Whereas P. Ryan, we saw him kind of tail off yardage-wise. And that offensive line is still kind of learning the ropes a little bit. And I'm going to say Mostert here. And that's going to be like 60 to 40%. Said Powell, star 3, Stevenson, Akers, Walker, or Madison. All right, so Stevenson is likely to play per morning reports. They're expecting him in there, so we'll run on that assumption. So Stevenson is definitely middle of the defense is attackable against Philadelphia, so we want him. Akers has a stable workload. I think Walker and Charbonnet both get big work today. My thought is that they play with a lead or close and they run. So I'm going to say Madison sits this one, even though Tampa's not a bad matchup. I think those other 3 backs are a step above. Aiden, Brees Hall, or Mike Williams. Mike Williams and me to be fairly easy. We haven't seen Hall yet. We know his workload's going to be limited. Williams went for like $116 and a touchdown against Miami, and they're going to attack those corners. Mike Williams is better than what they held guarding him. Mad Rapper, Schultz over Freiermuth. Freiermuth is going to have Fred Warner in him. Not good. Dave, Cook, Rashad White, or Kirk. I think I may have answered this already, but Kirk for sure. White's a floor play. Cook is a better ceiling. Fishtail, Flowers versus Houston with Andrews out, or Brandon Cooks against the Giants. I think Brandon Cooks here. I think there's a good chance that the Ravens could run. Even with the 3 receiver looks, I think there's going to be so much success on the ground for Lamar and for Dobbins. And if they get a lead early, they might back off the passing game. Where I think Brandon Cooks, he is obviously acclimated in camp really well. And I think Dell's going to take some shots. And I think that's going to be the way. Backup plan for Waller, again, depending on the competitiveness of your league, Jake Ferguson to be the same time game. He's snapped up in a lot of leagues, but in some leagues he's not. Tyler Conklin Monday night, or the same game, Daniel Bellinger would start if Waller was out. Not the same role, but he certainly is a capable receiver. And then Jackson Craig, McLaurin, or Delvin Cook, we're going to go McLaurin. I think I may have answered that for someone else, but McLaurin on that one. Thomas, Drake London, or Michael Thomas. Wow, that's a good one because Michael Thomas is a good matchup, but Drake London does as well. Carolina's decent corners, but London's body style works well. A lot of fun. I'm going to say London as the alpha, even though it's a low volume passing game. I'm going to say Drake London rolls there. Classic, you choose a running back, full PPR, Akers, DeAndre Swift, or James Cook. Let's see here. Akers. So DeAndre Swift, again, we're not sure of his role. Akers, I think, is the most stable. I'm going to go with Akers, even though Cook could have some upside. I think we're going to go that route. Bijan Robinson or Samaje Perine. Brian Robinson. I'm sorry. Brian Robinson. There's a great chance Washington plays with a solid lead here, and there's enough running back work for Gibson and Robinson, and it's an easy matchup. Perine is an easy matchup too, but I think Robinson could be in clock killing mode, and I'm going to go with Robinson. That's going to be 55 to 45%. And then, all right, let's see. I think you're setting after someone else. All right. Pittman or Brian Robinson. Again, I'm worried about Pittman. He'll probably get Tyson Campbell on him. I don't know. The passing we saw from Richardson in the preseason was scary. I'm going to say go safe this week with Brian Robinson. And let's see what else we got here. Cleveland over, you like Van Jefferson or Brees Hall for Swole Mo. I'm going to say Brees Hall or Van Jefferson probably sees a lot of Tariq Woolen on him. That scares me. Jackson Craig, you're welcome. I appreciate you as well. Dak or Gino answered for Griff. Sutton or Deontay Johnson for Fishtail. Sutton could get some play action shots here against the Raiders, and it is a good matchup. I think Deontay Johnson's in a sweet spot here, though, because you'll get a lot of Diamador Lenoir, I expect, from San Francisco. I think the pass rush is going to mitigate the downfield passing. I think there's going to be a lot of quick stuff. I think it's a Deontay Johnson game. I think Sutton is riskier. Deontay Johnson this week has floor and some ceiling. Swole Mo, I think we answered this. Ingram over likely, and then Mr. Fantastic Fantasy Football. These are on Instagram, Likely or Dulcich. Both could have solid roles here. I think with Jerry Jeudy out, Dulcich sees an enhanced role here, even though they're going to run a lot. I think they're going to use their tight end in the receiving game. This is a 50-50 call. I am going with Dulcich, but I understand if you have a lean toward Likely because he did show quite well when he was working with the team last year. And Ingram or Likely. Ingram, I think we answered that. And Damian Pierce for Jules Ortiz. I think we may have answered this as well. Damian Pierce over Zay Flowers for volume. Joe, Connor, Charbonnet, Ayuk, Nico Collins, pick one. Oh, man. I am going to say, look, I know it's a terrible matchup. Every matchup for the Cardinals bad. Connor was 20 PPR points per game from week to 9 with the same garbage offensive line, much of that with no Kyler Murray. So I'm going to say James Conner is going to get either receiving work, even though it's not PPR, you're building up. I think it's a lot of garbage time. I think Washington's not going to mentally be up for the Cardinals because it's such a bad opponent. That's not the smartest analysis, but I believe it's true. I'm going to say these are all great plays, but Connor is the one that sticks out to me. And Julian, I answered that one for you. Thomas, I appreciate you, man. Concerned about Michael Thomas or Brees Hall? Yeah, I know. Michael Thomas at least has a good matchup. Tennessee is good against the run, lights out against the run, but they're not good against the pass. And so I think in this case, look, Michael Thomas is healthy. It's week 1. He's healthy. Play him. When he was on the field last year, he was good. And so let's just go with that. Pay King, Chiggy or Schultz? Yeah, that's a really good question. So Schultz against Baltimore. There could be a blowout and he could get some garbage catches, but I don't know against Baltimore's safeties. I don't know that he's getting open much. We don't know what Chiggy's volume is going to be, but I do think Chiggy has more upside than Schultz. And I don't know that Schultz's floor is stable. He's not in Dallas anymore. This is going to be, if you have a lean, go with it. I'm going to say Chiggy 55 to 45%. And then Tom, Drake London or Devontae Smith. You know what? I know New England has a talented secondary, but a bunch of small guys. I just think that ultimately they can't only do so much because they got to stop the run too. I don't think they can overcommit to the secondary. And I think their personnel, Jack Jones, one of their depth corners is out. That's going to make a difference here. I'm going to go Devontae Smith 55 to 45%. But if you got a gut feel on London, roll with it. And but I definitely see what you're saying. I definitely see, and like if you got a gut call on that, definitely going. Patriots try to need to keep it low scoring, but with Jalen Hurts, right? Oh my gosh, that might be tough to do. Dave Daggs, I think I answered you already. That one you asked that a couple times. Let me see. Defense for the year, New England or Jack. I think I answered that one already on Instagram. And here we go. So Nihad Sharif, full PPR, Kenneth Walker or Rashad White. Both are good plays this week. I think Kenneth Walker is going to work in with Charbonnet, but I think they're going to run so much against the Rams. I think Kenneth Walker is your play this week. And Mordenheim, need 2.5 PPR. Dotson, Herbert, Pierce, or Rashad White. Herbert has a really good matchup against Green Bay. They keep saying they're going to be better against the run. I'll believe it when I see it. They haven't been that. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go. And then, you know what? Damian Pierce is your volume play. Regardless, he should be heavily involved, whether it's in the receiving game, whether it's in the run game, he should be involved. So I think Herbert and Pierce, but if you want some more upside, Jahan Dotson is a really easy matchup. So I think that they may not need to throw a lot, which is why Dotson isn't an automatic here. So it's Herbert. If you want the upside boom bust play, it's Dotson. But if you want the safe second play, it's Damian Pierce. Randy, thank you for telling me that Cordero Patterson is out. And Algier all along has been a great stash. Patterson is going to be used more as a receiver this year. The coaching staff pointed this out at one point. I didn't expect anybody else to see it, but I did see it across the board. They're going to use him more in that receiving role this year. I think they like having that 1-2 punch of Bijan and Tyler Algier. And, Patterson's in his 30s. I don't want to, they learned they don't want to overwork him as a runner, but definitely Algier's a guy I was drafting in the 11th round. I think he has flex value every week. I think they run so much that he's going to get 10 carries to be productive. Sebastian, Likely or Kincaid? We haven't seen Kincaid yet. We have seen Likely. We know that Lamar likes the middle of the field. I think Likely is safer. I think he's safer. We don't know with Kincaid, and you have a solid option. I can't even really say that Kincaid's an upside play because we haven't seen it. Since you have a good option with Likely, unless your gut tells you otherwise, Likely will get you some production. And then Reed or Mike Evans. I assume you mean Jaden Reed. I hope I'm not missing somebody. If you do, I'm going to go, even though I don't like the downfield passing game, because I think Brian Flores is going to send a lot of blitzes. I think Mike Evans gets enough done. I'm going to go with Mike Evans. Goddard or Higbee. Oh, wow. You know what? Here's what I'm going to say. Look, I know Higbee's getting a lot of targets. New England can't dedicate personnel to stop Dallas Goedert. They got way too many problems with that offense. And I drafted Dallas Goedert. I'm going with Dallas Goedert because he is an elite player. And if he has a down week, you can live with it. But Dallas Goedert is a superstar. And again, he'll be one of the least concerns of the New England defense. And so I'm going to go with that. I know Higbee has a lot of targets in him, but I got to go with Goedert. Nicholas. Oh, man, thank you for listening on Sirius. I appreciate that. Torn on Washington. Gibson or Dotson? Yeah, I know. So here's the thing. I hate preseason, but the coach, Eric Bieniemy, he split those early down work with Gibson and Brian Robinson. I think Gibson has a role here. And I think Gibson's going to be involved in this game for much of it. And whereas Dotson, yeah, it's a great matchup, but they might not need to pass a whole lot. And so that said, I'm going to give Gibson a 53 to 47% edge, but if you have a gut feel on Dotson, go with it. I just think Gibson has a better chance of being relevant for 4 quarters in the game. See if I have another Instagram question here. Oh, so you got Lauren in the house. Welcome, Lauren. And then Khalil versus Deion versus Delvin. I'm going to go Khalil Herbert. I love his matchup. Deion Jackson's going to get some work, but I think Khalil Herbert's in a great spot. It's week 1. He should get double-digit touches easily, maybe 15, and I love the matchup. Yeah, I answer that one good there. And then Dulcich are likely. Again, I think it was kind of equal there, but Dulcich, I think, would have the advantage in this one. And Ezra, you love the app. Excellent. I answered your question already. Freiermuth are likely. So Freiermuth probably gets a lot of Fred Warner, and I'm very, very nervous about that because Warner could shut him down. He shut down anybody. I think likely is safer. And I would probably go 53 to 47% likely. Freiermuth is clearly the better player and better situation, but the matchup is bad. Gabs, Ferguson likely or Taysom Hill. I think Jake Ferguson is a big part of this offense this year. And look, we're going to pigeonhole both likely and Ferguson saying, they may or may, we don't know what their roles are. Ferguson, I think, is a staple. Dak said he's going to be a star. I already had a player I was targeting 79% all yards after the catch. Taysom, I just don't know what his role is. So I think Ferguson's going to have a stable role. Fishtail, Zayflower, Cooks. Tony got you 1 point. I know. Oh my God, what a rough one that was. I'm going to say Brandon Cooks. I think they want to get him going in week 1. And I think that the Giants secondary can't do much. They're going to have their hands full with other players, especially CD Lamb. I'm going to go with that. All right, let's see what we got here. Dollar Bill. Need 2 from Cook, Mostert, and Gibson. I'm going to sit Dalvin Cook. Matchup isn't great. Offensive line may not be great. And I think overall, Mostert has a great matchup. This is the time you want to use him. Gibson, I think, will be relevant for 4 quarters. Ryan, better standard stash. Mingo, Mims, or Giants D for week 2. You know what? I hope that the coaching staff in Carolina learns how to use Mingo, because if they do, he could be a real weapon. But indications in camp show they may not be using him to his ultimate potential, getting him a lot of catch and run. I don't know that that's going to be there. I don't trust Russell Wilson passing the ball. You know what? But a defense is always tough to say. The Giants are going to be coming off of a somewhat short week against Arizona. And teams are going to look past Arizona. They're not going to show up. And Arizona's going to have these crazy games where they're just scoring points because the defense doesn't care. I still think Mingo if Mingo shows something today, he could become a staple of that offense, like surprisingly right away. I'm going to say Mingo. Jay, Mostert or Miles Sanders? Oh, man. Mostert probably tops out at 15 touches, but it's a great matchup. Sanders probably gets used as a runner and a receiver, and he's probably relevant for 4 quarters. This is very close. I think Sanders has a more stable workload. I could see Salvon Ahmed getting 10 carries from Mostert, and depending how the game script goes, Mostert, I know he caught some passes last year, but he's typically not your receiving back. So I think we're going to go with Miles Sanders there that may see a versatile 3-down workload. Instagram, Flowers, Addison, or Elijah Moore. Wow. Addison, the only thing is I think he's going to be beautiful, but Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean are the 2 corners, so he's going to get one of them. And in his first game, I think it's a tough call. I think Elijah Moore is going to be used very versatile in a versatile manner, very heavily. So I'm going to go with Elijah Moore there. Likely or Freiermuth. He said likely because of the matchup. Freiermuth is Fred Warner. I'm very nervous about that. Will Javonte be a top 10 running back this year? I wish I could answer that for you. We don't know what his knee looks like. They already said now they're going to limit his workload. So right now I'm going to say no because they're still limiting his workload. That means he's probably not full powers. And P. Ryan, when he was brought there, was told that he is going to have a role. Ezra, Khalil Herbert, I think we told you that already. And then Sauce YC, James Cook, Rashad White, or Addison. James Cook's going to be my choice there. I think that he gets enough work and breaks a long enough play to get it done. Scott Walker, Akers, and Standard. I think he gets you at least 15 touches here. I know Seattle was bad against run. They get Bobby Wagner at house, but I think the run seems to be a little more focused this year. The line's a little better. I'm going to say good there. Classic, Akers, Swift, or Cook. Akers is your floor and solid play. I think he's your best one. Jay, appreciate you, man. Thomas, Hall, Mostert, Javal, Williams, or Swift. I'm going to say Mostert here. Again, the matchup is great. He should get 15 touches. I'm going to roll with him. I think the matchup is beautiful for him. Juwan Johnson are likely. Oh, that's a good question, Fake. Juwan Johnson, look, Tennessee, you can't run on him. You got to throw. And they, there could be some pressure too. So the middle of the field, I do rate Juwan Johnson a 55 to 45% edge over Likely, because Likely now, it's not like he steps into the last year's offense where it was like Devin Duvernay and James Prochet. Well, now it's Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman and Odell Beckham. So I think Juwan Johnson's our guy here. And said we're going to go with Kyle Pitts. Van Jefferson, I think he sees a lot of Tariq Woolen and me. That's a mismatch. And I think that Van Jefferson could get blanketed. So I think Kyle Pitts won. Delroy, thank you, man. If anybody's out there on YouTube, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. If you could consider giving me a follow at Jim Coventry NFL on Twitter, I'd greatly appreciate it. I put out I put out threads all the time. There's betting threads, there's player prop threads. Try to set you up all week for success. Ramon, flex half PPR, Connor, Najee, or Delvin. So I think Najee is probably the safest of these. I know San Francisco is a tough draw, but I think he's going to get used as a runner and a receiver. They get in the red zone, he'll be used. I love Connor every week. He averaged 20 PPR points from week 10 on, and he certainly could continue that. So Najee's safer, but I think Connor, your PPR. So because your PPR now, I think Connor could be a better upside play, and his floor is not bad, because I think he catches, worst case scenario, 3-4 passes. So I'm actually going to say in a PPR, I'm going to go Cook 52% to 48 over Najee, and I'm not putting Dalvin Cook in that discussion. Sauger, all right. Charbonnet, 22.5 rushing. Take the over on the rushing. If they win this game, which I expect them to, both running backs are getting work. It's the defense of the Rams. It's Aaron Donald and nobody else. I think Charbonnet's the closer. I think he goes over that. David, member of RotoWire, appreciate you. All right. Z Guac Boy, if I said that right. Non-PPR, JSN or Quentin Johnson. You know what? Because I don't know that Quentin Johnson's going to see the field much. Smith and Jigba, at least when they're in 3 receiver sets, which I don't know how often that is, we'll see the field probably more. I think he has more playing time, so we're going to go with him. Guadalupe, full PPR, Madison, Connor, Evans, Watson. Oh, pick one. Oh, no, stop there. Madison, Connor, or Evans. So Mike Evans, I think Brian Flores is going to blitz a lot. And I think the downfield passing game might not be there. Baker Mayfield doesn't want to turn it over. He want to lose his job. I think James Conner is your play there in full PPR. We just talked about him. Quarterback, you have Geno or Deshaun Watson. It's basically, if they turn Geno Smith loose to throw, it's an easy matchup. But if they run the ball all day and say, we're just going to pound them on the ground and win there, they could do that too. I think they're more likely to have a lead and run. Geno is safe, but I think he has a limited upside because I don't think they're going to have to throw a lot. Deshaun Watson, look, if you are in the camp, you don't know what you're getting, then you might wait a week. I think he does reclaim the speed of the game. I think he's able to put enough points up on the board. He has great weapons. I would say Deshaun, and he still runs. Watson still runs. So I'm going to give Watson the edge, 55 to 45. But if you think Geno is coming in firing from, all the games is going to be firing, which I don't think it is, you'd go that route. Harry, Gibson, or Dobbs. I'm going to say Gibson here. Dobbs is limited with a hamstring. I think they're going to watch what routes they run him on. If the game is one-sided, one direction or the other, they could pull him out easily. I'm just going to say with Gibson, he should be involved the whole way through. Instagram, Debo or Connor in your flex. Oh, man, that's a rough one. Debo is a great matchup. I think this is the one week I'm kind of circling saying, oh, yeah, to beat Pittsburgh, you got to beat him on the drag routes, and that's like his sweet spot. But yet Connor is 20 PPR points from week 10 on last year. Same garbage line, most of that without Kyler. Nothing's changed. Defenses are not going to take Arizona, get up for them emotionally. So this is a can't miss one. I think both are great plays. I think Debo's your upside play because he could have a monstrous game. But again, if Coach Shanahan doesn't decide to use him, we see it was less than 9 touches a game last year. Connor is safer. You want the safe play, high floor, good upside is Connor. If you want the guy that might go off, but he also might not be used enough, that'd be Debo. It's a great question. Michael, James or Dalvin Cook today? We're going to go with James. Dalvin Cook will be – I still think the decline, it's still problematic. I think the defense of Buffalo is better than we think. And I think that James Cook is going to get enough work as a receiver and runner. And I think his explosiveness can get him a play or two. Maddie, full PPR, Lockett, Pierce, or Robinson. I don't know how much Seattle has to throw, so that's the only concern I have on Lockett. Pierce, I think, has a stable workload as a runner, receiver. I think he is the safest of the three. Brian Robinson could be, helping close a game out in a big win, and there's that. I think you could consider him as well. I think Pierce proved last year when he was healthy that even when he didn't get it on the ground, he got it done as a receiver. So I think Pierce is the way to go. I'm going to, real quick, let me see what I got question-wise. I'm going to have to zip through. So yeah, I got to zip through the rest of it, but I will. And let me just go through the Instagram. I'm going to close Instagram out here. So for B. Schwartzy, you need Kirk, Ayuk, or Goddard. I am going to say Goddard here because they can't focus on him. New England can't. And Jules Ortiz, Damian Pierce over Flowers, Danny Rock. We're going to go Connor over Mostert because of the PPR and the reception element. And money's on the Bears. Very nice. And I think, let me see, Gibson or Jahan Dotson. I think Gibson will be more relevant for 4 quarters of the game. Jackson Craig, Everett, or Likely. I'm going to go Likely here because I think ultimately Everett, we're not quite sure what his workload is going to be. Claubrey, Anthony Richardson, or Deshaun Watson. I you know what? I just think Watson's going to run too. So I think overall we're going to go with him. Andrew's officially inactive. Thank you. Komet, go with Komet over Taysom Hill. We never know what Hill's role is going to be. And then Frico Suave, Deontay, or Drake London. Deontay has a higher floor. They both have similar ceilings. I would basically go 52% Deontay on that. Justin Herbert or Dak. I'm going to go with Justin Herbert. They're going to come out throwing in this one. And then Gabs with Taysom Hill, Likely, or Ferguson. I'm going to go Ferguson there. And I'll come back over to YouTube in a second. Acquire a hobby, Likely or Musgrave. I'm going to go Likely. Musgrave, I still want to see what he does in the game. I know we had the rookie tight end Laporta go off for a bit, but I think we got to wait on that one. Evans or Brian Robinson. We're going to go Evans. And then we already answered that one. Deion Jackson or JSN. Deion Jackson is going to get volume, the Maldi. So we're going to go with that one. Acquire a hobby. We are going to go with, I think we're going to go Kenneth Walker over Damian Pierce because the matchup is easier. They both are going to get work here. Breece Hall or Charbonnet. Oh, yeah, they're both going to get similar work. 50-50. I'm going to say Breece Hall because if he has 80% of his powers, he could break something. Back to YouTube. Oh, I got to close out. Actually, I wanted to close this out on. If anybody on Instagram, and I'm sorry you have questions, I'm not going to be able to keep up on both. I need you to come over to RotoWire YouTube. I apologize, but I love it at 12:15 Eastern. I got to be off this like at 15 minutes. So if anybody comes over that way, I'll gladly answer you there. Thank you. Close that one out. And back to YouTube. All right, Corey. It's worth giving Nakua a shot. You know what? From his testing, he's super slow. He has like little agility. He did dominate, college, and I know he's at Washington a little bit, and it just didn't make sense. I don't know how he gets open at the NFL level. I would definitely go. You got Pitts and Brian Robinson right now. I would definitely go with either of them over Puka Nacua. I am going to be stunned if he does anything of relevance based on his physical skill set. I just would be stunned. David, standard in the league. All right. Maddie, Lockett, Pierce, Robinson. Pierce is safer. Lockett has more upside if they decide to pass. I think they're going to run a lot, but it's tough to sit Lockett, but Pierce has a really good floor. Robinson, again, he could have relevant work for 4 quarters. It's just he's not very good. And I don't know. Gibson got half of the early down work in the preseason with Robinson, so that's going to be an interesting call there. Harry, Gibson or Dobbs? Dobbs is not 100%. Gibson's probably relevant for 4 quarters. We'll go that route. Alex, White, James Cook, or Sutton or Gibson. Sutton could be used on a deep shot or two, and it could work out. I think Gibson is probably has the easiest matchup and is the most relevant for 4 quarters of this group. I'm going to give Gibson the nudge there. Adrian Cooks or Mike Williams. Mike Williams should be a focal point of the offense. He went for over 115 yards and a touchdown against Miami last year. I think he's safer. Filmington, 2.5 PPR league. Mike Williams, Jahan Dotson, Alex Madison, and Brian Robinson. So I'm going to go with Mike Williams and Drake London, both the number 1 targets in their offense. I do like Madison here, but I think Williams and London are going to see enough and have a floor, and I do believe their physicality matches up in their defense. Sauger, Ramondre, or Dion. As of right now, we expect Ramondre to be active. We're not 100%, but the Eagles are not solid up the middle. There's a lot of they may be later. They have talent, but there's a lot of new bodies up the middle. that could be taken advantage of. So we're going to go with that. Craft Keepers, you're welcome. Crazy Legs, Connor or Addison. Addison's going to either face Jamel Dean or Carlton Davis in his first game as a pro. Connor, 20-plus PPR points again from week 10 on with a bad line. Most of it, no Kyler. Same thing. Go James Connor. Tank, Big Visa Stash, 100%. Last year, we knew that they were spelling ETN a lot. They made it a priority. The free agency running back. They signed Big D in the draft. They're going to use a backup running back. They're going to use, and then if ETN misses time. And Bigsby, he had a terrible offensive line in college. I think he's better than people think. Sea-Dog, Komet or Likely. You know what? I think Komet is going to be more likely a focal point of the middle of the field, whereas Isaiah Likely now has 3 receivers to share with, and we're not sure if they're going to run the ball more. I'm going to go with Komet there. And then Tyler, are you crazy to start over Dell, over Waddle, or not over Ridley? Not over Ridley. Waddle, remember, 2 for 31 last year against the press coverage of the Chargers. Are going to do that again probably. But again, Odell coming off an injury, missing a full season. I'm just going to go with Waddle there and just call it a day. Odell might not, we don't even know at this point, like what he's going to look like. He's over 30 now. So I would wait on him. And then Ingram or Johnson. No, I don't know which Johnson we have her. So other than Deontay, probably, you mean. So no, I would just give Odell a week and see what he's got. Smoke Rider, Pickens, Dillon, Burks, Gabe Davis. So Green Bay probably has to run a lot here in this game against the Bears, and they should have an advantage there. Gabe Davis probably sees a lot of Sauce Gardner. That's rough. Treylon Burks should see stuff in the slot, which that Hopkins is going to get a lot of Lattimore. So I think it's a good game for Burks. Pickens will have Charvarius Ward on him, but Pickens knows that his quarterback last year, Kenny Pickett, started throwing him the ball when he was covered, so that works. So I'm going to say I'm going to go with Burks and Pickens, but Dillon, if you want to sub out for Pickens, if you're worried about Ward and with the 49ers pass rush, Dillon will be your guy, but give me those 2 receivers. Raul, Geno or Aaron Rodgers. I know. It is a tough one because the Bills are a really good defense, and they had injuries and DeMar Hamlin situation that just fried them emotionally last year. But I think that Aaron Rodgers has a tough matchup here, and he really only has Garrett Wilson. The other receivers I don't trust. I don't know how much Geno has to throw, but it's a cake matchup. I'm going to say Geno Smith. Delroy, Higbee, or Goddard. You know what? I love Higbee this week, but I can't sit Dallas Goddard. There's no way that the defense of the Patriots can focus on him, so I think it's a good Goddard game. David, Wilson or Lawrence? I'm going with Lawrence. Both corners from last year from Indy are gone. They couldn't cover then. They can't cover now. Wilson, I think they're going to run the ball all day. Sutton or P. Ryan as a flex? P. Ryan has a higher floor. He's going to get a lot of carry. He can probably get 8 to 12 carries here. Whereas Sutton, you have to connect on a downfield pass. I'm going to say P. Ryan is your flex. But I tell you what, you have Michael Thomas in the mix for flex. I think if you're ever going to start Michael Thomas, it's got to be now. He's healthy. When he played last year for those few games, he was good. The defense is a pass funnel. They can stop the run. They can't stop the pass. I would say Michael Thomas there. Delroy, full PPR, P. Ryan or Juwan Johnson. P. Ryan safer for a floor. Like I just said, 8 to 12 carries should get you a floor. Juwan Johnson, I think, is going to be heavily used in the middle. But I think P. Ryan is just safer here. And JSN or Quentin Johnston. I just think Smith and Jigba has a better chance of playing more snaps, so I'm going to say that. Eric, need one. McLaurin, Akers, or Mike Williams? Mike Williams. I think Mike Williams has a big game today. I think that Miami does not have the personnel to answer for him. Fangio's defense can take a while to gel. Adrian, Hall or Herbert? Herbert has a great matchup. Hall doesn't. They're both going to get similar workloads. I hate saying sit Breece Hall, but Herbert is a great matchup on a roll with him. The Joker, Madison, Ayuk, Mostert, or Herbert. I'm going to go with Mostert and Herbert. I love Ayuk. I just don't know in this matchup. I think it's more of a Debo game. If you think they're going to focus on Ayuk, then you would put him in over Mostert. But Mostert's going to have a good matchup, and he should get double-digit carries here. And Herbert has an easy matchup. Steven, you're welcome. You need one for a receiver and a flex. Deontay, Elijah Moore, and Breece Hall. Deontay, I think, is Diamador Lenoir. Probably see a lot of him. I think it's going to be a lot of getting it out quick to Deontay. Great week for him. Breece Hall is safer than Elijah Moore because we know he'll have a role. We know he'll get something done. I think Elijah Moore is more of a boom bust play because if they use him as they did in training camp, I think he could be a real wild card with that sub 4.4 speed, 90th percentile agility. So Johnson for sure. If you want a safe play, go Hall. If you want to swing for some upside and risk some floor, then you go the other route with Elijah Moore. Steven, you're welcome. And we already said Goddard over Higbee, even though Higbee's in a great situation. Jed, Deion Jackson, or Charbonnet. I think Jackson is more of a lock to see work. I'm expecting Charbonnet to be heavily used because I think they have a lead in this game. I think both running backs are involved. I think Charbonnet is more of a closer back. I think Charbonnet has more upside because if that's the scenario and he grinds it out late, that could be big. But I also think Deion Jackson is much safer as a floor and some catches. So I think I'd be safe and go with Deion Jackson. But if I really want to swing for some upside, I think Charbonnet could be that, but that's a risk. So if you're willing to take the risk, that's it. Injured. So Dustin, if you're worried that Waller doesn't play, the last report from Ian Rappaport was that he's likely to play, then if you think you want to take the risk, then you got to start Likely. But if Waller's on the field, you drafted him, you need to start him. They're going to put him out there. He's going to play. Mike is, let's see, Deion, Gabe Davis, Van Jefferson, Romeo Dobbs. Yeah, no injuries. Deion Jackson for the floor, I think. I don't like Van Jefferson. I think he's going to have a lot of, I already said this earlier, Tariq Woolen on him. I don't like that. Gabe Davis, he's a lot of sauce. Romeo Dobbs, limited. But I think over those two with those matchups, I'm going to say Deion Jackson and Dubs. Dr. Roberto, Godwin, or Debo. Both have good matchups. I think when I handicap this game, I just think it's a game where you got to run drag routes, and I think that's a Debo game. And so for me, I think Debo is the play because I think this is the team he's going to gouge. It's perfect matchup. Him and Pittsburgh's styles make fight. But Godwin has a safe floor, and it's a high floor. So you've got that. Debo, there's games where he doesn't get the touches. I prefer Debo, but if you want that super safe floor, it's got to be Godwin. King, Ridley, Higgins, Wilson, Dotson. Who do I suggest? I'll order them this way. Garrett Wilson, number 1, Ridley, number 2, Higgins, number 3, Dotson, number 4. John, Musgrave or Waller. If you think that there's a chance Waller doesn't play, then you got to go with your other option. If you're going with Rappaport's report that Waller is going to play, you got to start Darren Waller. If he's on the field, you got to start him. Brian Robinson, Gibson, or Drake London. You know what? I've been talking that running game. I think they're both going to be involved for Washington, but I think Drake London is the number 1 receiver, and they may not pass a lot, but when they do, he's going to get a lot of those targets. It's going to be Drake London. White, Cook, or Pierce. King, give me Damian Pierce for a solid workload throughout. Unite Santini. Evans or Dotson, upside. You're looking for upside. I don't think Evans has the upside this week because I think Brian Flores is going to blitz a lot. And I think that Baker Mayfield is going to be scared to make mistakes. That's going to be downfield. I think Dotson has the more upside against Arizona. Adrian, Cooks or Drake London. I love Cooks, but Drake London should have a more secure role as the number 1 alpha. So I'm going to go with him. Vincent, Ingram, or Darren Waller. So, all right, that makes sense. I get it. If Waller is injured and you're worried about setback, Ingram should have a viable role against Indy running horizontal routes. That should be a big one. So I could totally see it if you're worried about Waller. But if Waller comes out and he's actually fine and he blows up for 90 and 2 touchdowns, you might kick yourself. I just want you to know that's out there. I will say Ingram is safer because of the injury to Waller, but Waller he's their number 1 receiver and he has real upside. But I will go with Ingram because of the injury. Evans or Keenan Allen. I'm going to go Keenan Allen. His volume should trump Mike Evans. You heard me talk a second ago about that. Admiral, Nita, Mingo, or Mims. Yeah, again, this one's kind of I think Mingo in this game may end up seeing more work. So I'm going to go with that because I think Mims is going to be caught up in a big running game for Denver. Paul, all right, half PPR, Waller or Higbee. Again, you kind of heard me say, if you think Waller's going to be on the field, you have to start Waller. You have to start him because of the boom. If you're worried there's any chance he gets last minute scratched or he can't finish the game, then Higbee will be safe for you. All right, next one, Pierce or Mostert. Oh, man. I'm going to go Mostert. Pierce is going to get a lot of work. It's a bad matchup. He's missing 3 linemen. Mostert has an easier matchup. Should get 15 touches. I'm going to go with that. And all right, I think I answered that one, John, already. Oh, Njoku's in there. All right, That's a little fly in the ointment there. If you think there's any chance Waller can't finish the game, I go Njoku. If there's any chance you think Waller finishes the game, then you got to go Waller. That's the best I could do. I think Njoku's safer because Waller could not finish or have an issue. So there's that. But Waller's upside is like crazy. All right, Paul. Let's see. Waller, Higbee. I just answered that one for somebody, so you heard that. Hollywood Brown, Beckham, Akers, or Elijah Moore. Akers is the most stable of this group. He'll be involved regardless of game script. He'll be utilized heavily. I think he is the one that's your safest one. And I'm going to just say roll with him. Adrian, Cook, Brandon Cooks, London, or Mike Williams. I am projecting for a big week this week. I think the matchup against Miami, 6 for $116 and a touchdown last time. I think they go to him more here. Nicholas, you're welcome. John, I think you're under the guys there. Adam, Admiral, you're welcome. Chad, I would go likely over Musgrave. I do think that Lamar loves like the middle of the field, and Musgrave, we just haven't seen it yet. We're not quite sure. JC Media, Deion Jackson is going to have a safer, more stable workload, so he's a safer choice. John, Addison, or Elijah Moore. Addison's going to face either Carlton Davis or Jamel D. That's a tough draw in your first game as a pro. I think Elijah Moore is going to be used very versatilely, so I'm going to go with that. Bruce, Tutu Atwell, or Jaden Reed. I think Tutu Atwell is going to be a part of the offense with Cup out. I'm going to go Tutu Atwell. Joffrey, pick one. Cooks, Javante, Van Jefferson, Marquise Brown. I'm going to go Brandon Cooks here. I do think that Dallas will get enough of the passing game going. Rashad Penny is, thank you, Randy. Rashad Penny's a healthy scratch today. Wow, that's great for Kenny Gainwell and also DeAndre Swift. Camden, I'm going to go through these fast. I got to go through these very fast. These are going to be speed dials. Sorry, I don't get a lot of rationales, but I got to get ready for game day. Godwin, James Cook, or Deion Jackson. Godwin's your play there. You should get volume. Thoughts on Bigsby? Tough run defense. 8 carries, 21 yards probably. Nick, Cooks, or Pittman? I don't trust the passing game right now. And I think Tyson Campbell's on Pittman. I'm going to go with Cooks there. Nick, Cooks, or Pittman? I just answer that. Andrea, good afternoon. White, Charbonnet, Flowers, or Addison. I think White has the safest floor of this group. Charbonnet's a player I think is going to get work late. Flowers, I just don't know what the role is yet, and they may not have to pass a lot. And Addison, I just mentioned his matchup. So I think White may be your play there. Randy, Penny, thank you again. Ezra, Khalil Herbert has a great matchup, and right now he's the lead back. Got to roll with him. And all right, answer that. KJ, Greg the Leg. If you have any concern about the weather, just opt for like Sanders. You know that. Well, no, they Chargers shut them down last time. Greg Joseph, Minnesota should have no problem scoring points. Yeah, go with this. If you're worried about weather, go that route. Riley, who do you bench? Who do you start at running back? White, Harris, Kenneth Walker. Najee Harris should have the most stable workload of the group, but the matchup is not great. Kenneth Walker has a beautiful matchup. I'm going to go Walker slightly over Harris and then over Mostert, and White to be number 4 there. Breece Hall or Delvin Cook. I'm going to go with Breece Hall. If they get similar workloads, even if Cook gets more, Hall, even compromise should be way better. Dobbins to me is the play of the week. I could see him going for 140 and 2 touchdowns, and it's probably high, but Dobbins is a super play this week. Dotson or McLaurin. Tough call there, right? McLaurin, we don't know what his issue is with his foot. I'd say because of that, we'll go with Dotson. Glock, Jackson. I'm going to say Ayuk. I know Jackson has a stable workload, but Ayuk does have a little advantage on those corners. Kenneth Walker, John Johnson. Walker has an easy matchup. I'm going to go with that. Michael Thomas. I think Hopkins sees a lot of Marshawn Lattimore. It's a tough matchup for him. Michael Thomas, look, if you're going to use him now. He's got a good matchup. Jed, you're welcome. Dreams, Penny. So Swift and Gainwell will be involved. I think so. At this point, I think Swift does get you 10 catches. He has a chance for 70 yards. I think he's a solid play. Dr. Roberto, you're welcome. And Mr. Nancy, and again, we said Dotson over McLaurin because of the foot. We're not sure. McLaurin, Pittman, Deion Jackson, or Gibson. I'm going to go with Gibson and McLaurin here. If you want the safe second play, it might be Jackson, but I think McLaurin gets enough done. McLaurin and Gibson. Charlene, good morning. Good luck to you as well. Dreams and Realty, thank you for telling me about that one there. Curly-headed Fox. Mostert, Herbert, and Dobbins. Dobbins is the play of the week, and I think Herbert has a great matchup here, so we're going to leave out Mostert. Ricardo, we're going to go with Elijah Moore. I think he's a big part of the offense. Metcalf or Sutton. I do think Metcalf has a super easy matchup, and I think they're more likely to get him the ball than Sutton, who was like alienated a lot. Adrian, you're welcome. Think we got everybody. Good luck. Have a great one.